There's been a lot of tension actually between the Natsu and Lucy relationship kind of going on right now, and there's not only tension existing, but there's tension to come. And oh my God, that sounded dirty. But what I mean by that is now we have Lucy very much worried about Natsu's his power that after pretty much very much experiencing fear of his flames for the first time, and Natsu seems to have some worry about his own aspects of it. Is he going to be able to control himself if he ever goes into that state again, if he ever gets that powerful again? He doesn't want to hurt any of his friends, but could that create a potential rift between them, or could that end up pulling them closer together? Now that's a really good question towards them alone, but until it ends up turning around, we know that it's going to bring some tension between them and the rest of the group as is. But one thing we know, obviously, coming towards them, that's going to be a big shake and everything is Touka. And not only Touka coming to them, wanting to, as she said, turn the rest of the members of Fairy Tail white, but the fact that she has an obsession with Natsu, because we know that the normal Touka is in love with him, and the White Witch Touka definitely seems to also have some form of infatuation on him. The fact that when she says she's going to him, she calls him Natsu Sama, which obviously Sama is kind of like this. I believe it's like a kind of like saying a superior general. I don't remember the exact description on top of my head and for Japanese honorifics, but anyone who's watched enough anime knows like all the different chicks they call the dudes that they're into Sama and whatnot, as just as a as some form of like weird affectionate like docile thing. I don't know, but is that in itself, like her arriving, going to be a potential threat, or is it going to be the thing that finally pushes them over? Because we know that Touka's after Natsu very aggressively, from what we can predict. Is she going to have some form of event or part within the arc where maybe Natsu and Lucy are going to have to kind of think about how they really feel towards each other, and maybe that's going to be what pushes them to really, by what I would assume at the end of the 100 Years quest, at least after maybe the 100 Years quest itself, maybe before they deal with Libieris or the Dragon Eaters, and the potential and eventual, again, Ankh-Saram, because I feel like that just out of nowhere, just putting this in here, I feel like after all this, he'll be the only opponent they could really have, unless they just completely just start spawning ones out of nowhere. I mean, there's still lots of ways that these guys can all make sense, but well, they really do with Libieris and the Dragon Eaters. Dragon Eaters are still mysterious, but anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked. But I feel like that'll be Touka. That's legitimately, I think Touka's like very large, underlined, and very, very much forward as front of things. Kind of point in a lot of ways, because even though she's a very powerful, intimidating new villain, but the fact that she also has affections for the main character, and we know that there's been there's still some progression in the person in the almost said personality in the relationship between Natsu and Lucy. They're still very much kind of just like super close, but they haven't got really romantic yet. They've had their moments, but we know kind of like you can kind of see Lucy. It's very obvious with her. With Natsu, I think it's a little bit harder to tell just the way that he is, but he had a very weird way of expressing it prior with Lizana. We've seen it in the flashbacks, and we know for a fact that he had a very, strong infatuation with him, the way that she was, the way that they kind of were back and forth, both he to her and her to him. And I don't know, I feel like this will be the big thing to really move them forward, will be just encounters with Touka. Maybe the first encounter will kind of like put that image in their head, and by the end of it all, Natsu and Lucy will kind of like fully kind of have their big moment together. Because it was different in like something like Rave Master, where it was just kind of like, we don't know if we're gonna live tomorrow thing between Haro and Ellie, and they kind of like really much became close in their relationship. They didn't fully I don't believe they fully said it at that point. Kind of like thinking back, I have to double check, but they were going to live together after that. But it was that moment after I think actually near the end when they thought Haru was gonna die, and then obviously the gap later when they finally met back up, that kind of like really sealed it in. But that could be, you know, a big enough event for Natsu and Lucy because they didn't want to have like a lot of like. I feel like that wasn't the time going into the war. Like I think that would have been too much of a death flag. But now I think will be a good time because now it won't be as kind of like the same kind of setup as Rave Master. It'll instead be its own way of where instead maybe they finally kind of admit to each other now that they're going to have this big opponent that is not only a threat to them in combat, but maybe Lucy will see as a romantic threat, even though Natsu doesn't have any feelings towards her. But maybe Touka will ask Natsu the same question of how he feels about Lucy, and that's maybe when he'll be honest about it, and we'll see it from Lucy as well. Other than that, tell me in the comments what you think about this. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a really big thing. She could be a threat to them, to NaLu itself, as the ship is thusly titled. But she could also be the thing that finally gets the ship completed in its journey. We'll see. It's definitely an interesting plot line going on with Touka that is both the menacing thing, but at the same time is the potential destroyer in probably not, obviously not in the long run. I don't think she's gonna somehow cuckold old Lucy, but a threat to it for a while before hopefully getting them fully together. And other than that, I really appreciate you thumbs up the video, friend the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.